Prime Minister's former Director of Communications, James Slack, has apologised for the anger and hurt caused for having a leaving party while COVID restrictions were in place the night before the Queen grieved alone at the Duke of Edinburgh's funeral. Security Minister Damian Hinds joins us from Westminster. I'm sure that you've seen this story. I'm sure you've seen James Slack's apology. What are your feelings about it?
I was shocked when I read that story for the first time this morning. Shocked, like I'm sure all your viewers were, to read it or to hear about it on your programme. That was a time of particular solemnity in our country, with Her Majesty the Queen mourning for Prince Philip with the most exceptional and incredible dignity. So, as I say, I was shocked, as I think everybody has been. It is, though. I mean, this morning is the first time I've heard about that incident, and I think we need to have the full facts come forward.
But you're shocked, though, Mr. Hinds, and we're all shocked. You're right, but we're not in a position to do anything about it. You're a government minister. So what have you done since hearing about it? Have you tried to call the Prime Minister? Have you tried to find out more about what's going on? I'm sure you've been very busy doing your job this morning as well. But I think the feeling is that Boris Johnson wasn't there, but there was a culture at Number 10, and that, unfortunately, pervades throughout the rest of the government and impacts on people's impression of people like you as well, that there was one rule for one and one rule for another. And this constant sort of, I didn't know what was going on, and I'm shocked about it, is sort of no longer feels comfortable for anyone to hear.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and I understand and absolutely acknowledge people's disappointment, letdown, anger. I mean, the Prime Minister said that on Wednesday when he made his
apology. But what have you done about it since hearing, is my point. You know, there feels like there needs to be action now. You know, people, we've heard from somebody just a few moments ago who had 3 friends, came to his back garden, and he was fined for it. They came because he was in a bad place, and he was fined for it. Somebody reported on that. Why are you not ringing up now and saying what was going on? We need to know. You're making this government look bad, or even, like some members of the government, time for Boris to go.
I think you're right that we need to absolutely get to the bottom of this, and there is an investigation going on, the Sue Gray investigation, and it's right that this evening that we're talking about also becomes part of that investigation. I understand it will look at that. It will look at the whole sequence, the series of gatherings and alleged gatherings. She's a very senior, well-respected civil servant, and she will make her findings, and then those findings will become public, and there will rightly be...
So they're definitely going to be looked at, are they? Because her job is getting increasingly impossible, isn't it? Just as she asks questions about one party and presumably gets some answers, it turns out that actually other parties are going on. It's just go back and go, well, hang on a minute, you didn't tell me about this. Why didn't you tell me about this? So they definitely will be looked at, will they, as part of this investigation?
That's my understanding, yes, is that she will look at...
Who is your understanding?
Forgive me?
Who have you had that understanding from?
Well, from government, in terms of what the terms of reference are for...
So you've spoken to the government this morning, have you, to find out if there's new revelations, as you've only just found out about them? You've spoken to the government to make sure that they're part of it, have you? I'm just trying to get clear, because I understand you're shocked. I know you weren't there, but you're in a position to do something about this and get answers for all of us, aren't you?
So, look, to be clear, I mean, I'm a member of the government, and as I say, my understanding is that the Sue Gray investigation is looking at any and all gatherings and alleged gatherings, and I think that is right, and I think it's right that then findings become public. There's a statement in the House of Commons. There'll be the opportunity then for MPs rightly to scrutinise, to question, you and your colleagues across the media to scrutinise, of course, as well, and the wider public debate. But we do need to get all the facts and facets out there, so we can do that. And I think it is important that the time is afforded to Sue Gray to do that piece of work.
There is a lot of pressure on Sue Gray, isn't there? And that, as Kate said, it is mounting. We've seen James Slack, who was having one of those leaving do's that has been revealed in the Telegraph this morning, has apologised for that. He said it shouldn't have happened. Is he apologising because it shouldn't have happened or because he's been caught? This was something that happened months and months and months ago, and no one has come forward to hold their hands up and say, look, we need to look into this. We need to be honest with everybody. We think we may have contravened the regulations. Unfortunately for you, you are the minister who's on the rounds this morning, so you have to sit there and try and defend what has been going on within your government. As Kate said, you weren't at these parties. You may well have handled things very, very differently, but you have to try and defend that.
You're also security minister.
But it seems like people are holding their hands up. So actually finding out what's going on is part of it. It seems like people are holding their hands up because they've been caught rather than because they want to admit that they've done something wrong.
But, I mean, to be clear, I'm not going to defend wrongdoing. What I'm saying to you is we need to have this, and it is happening. It is already happening, this investigation. And then we have to see what comes out of it. But it's always been clear that if appropriate, if there is wrongdoing by individuals, action can then be taken. So no, I'm not here just to defend anything. Absolutely not. The statement from James Slack, I mean, I've heard, like you, for the first time, in the last hour or so, but I don't think that changes the fact that we need to have somebody looking at it.
It doesn't change it, but it does make it clear that it happened, and that's the reality. Up to where, we've heard the government saying we're not sure what was going on and we can try and deny it. He's admitted that it shouldn't have happened. I wonder whether, and you are in an invidious position this morning, of course, Mr. Hinds, and we appreciate you coming on and speaking to us and trying to answer some of these questions. There's been a number of letters sent to the 1922 committee asking Boris Johnson to step down. I'm sure you've heard a number of other ministers within your own party saying that should happen. Are you going to be sending a letter? Do you have full confidence in Boris Johnson as the leader? And also, can you guarantee that we aren't going to get more revelations about the breaking of contravention and the rules within Number 10?
I absolutely have full confidence in the Prime Minister, and I think the strength of leadership that he has shown through this coronavirus period has been instrumental for our country having the strongest vaccine rollout, the most tested country in Europe, one of the most open economies, the jobs figures so much better than was what was anticipated. And now, we hope being able to look towards coming through this. I have absolute confidence in the Prime Minister and his leadership and in the government.
He's lost the public's trust, though, hasn't he? That's the problem. I mean, you will see that Labour are way ahead of you in the polls, and despite all those things that you want to point the finger at and say, look at what we've done so well, we see him hiding. In Number 10, he's tested, or a close family contact has tested positive to coronavirus. The rules and regulations, as long as he tests negative, as it's not him, he can still go about doing his everyday business, and suddenly he's nowhere to be seen. And that lack of visibility and the fact that he's lost the public's trust is a real concern, surely.
Well, on that specific point, I mean, I think the advice is that you should, if you can, realistically try and reduce your social contact. But on your question about trust, we have to work harder. We have a job of work to do, clearly, on trust. And as the PM said,
but Mr. Hinds, I don't want to interrupt you, but I feel for you, because you're here trying to do your job and speak. We have to work harder. We've been hearing this for weeks. And inside Number 10, at the very least, there seems to be a chaotic understanding of what on earth went on while the rest of the nation was living in a very restrictive way. And I just think you must be talking to me right now and thinking, I want to get on the phone and find out what's happening. Have you not got the power within the government to talk to each other and get some honesty?
Yes, look, you're quite right. The privations, the restrictions that people have lived under for these past, coming on for 2 years, have been have been exceptional and extreme, and in the worst cases, people being unable to be with dying relatives or to mourn their loss. Of course, I understand how people feel. You say, do we have the power, the ability to get to the bottom of this? That is exactly what the purpose is of appointing a senior civil servant to look into it and to, in a deliberative way, to make her findings, which then will become public and then can be scrutinised, can be questioned. But that is, I understand people want to know straight away. Of course I do. But we do need to allow sufficient time for that piece of work to be done properly.
Unfortunately, in the meantime, more and more things are coming out. That's the problem, isn't it? So that makes it very difficult for people like you trying to get on with your job.
But all of these aspects, all the events, alleged events, all of them need to be looked at together, and that is one of the reasons why it's right to have such an investigation.
Do you think there's going to be more then, Mr. Hinds?
I have no reason to believe that, but I do think it's right. It's right that it's, as I say, look, it's slightly repetitive, but that all of these things are looked at together, and you can do that when you have this kind of analysis investigation.
All right, Damian Hinds, thanks for joining us this morning.